Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is called Country Pond. It's an 8 by 12, and I painted this a couple days back. I finished it on my Saturday. Yeah. Well, what you're seeing now is when I started it, which was back in May. So it sat around for a while, and maybe we'll just talk about that. Like, the great thing about my process and my approach is that it's broke up into digestible chunks, and I'm not, contrasting or comparing myself to any other painter here. This is pretty much what I've cobbled together, but I'm all about supporting myself as an artist. I honestly believe that, painting is a lot of things. One, it's a very enjoyable activity, but two, it's quite difficult to do a good painting. There's a lot of things that are going to have to be reconciled for that to happen. And we'll talk about that maybe later or in another video. But what I want to talk about today is this idea of supporting yourself as an artist. And I've been talking about this for years. But the doing an underpainting, okay? Now, this underpainting is done on some hardboard. It was primed with 2 layers of transparent gesso. And the color I'm using is Burnt Umber, which looks like it's got a little bit of Perylene black in it, black/green. And if you've spent any time on my channel, you're going, wow, this looks familiar. Sometimes he's working on hardboard, sometimes he's working on a painted color, but he's always doing these underdrawings. Why, Well, to support myself as an artist, this part of the process is where we really, actually, I start even prior to this when I'm working with the photo reference. And in the members area, you'll see, even in the, if you go to the, there's a few live streams I've done. If you go to that tab on my channel, you'll see a couple there. Same sort of thing. It all starts with manipulating the reference image and addressing compositional issues that I'm aware of, as well as any other issues. But that's all just reference. Once we're into doing the painting, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where hopefully we didn't leave any little compositional things, but this is a place to reconcile and improve any issues like that. And I do it with my, basically my mixed color and a little bit of oil, and using my medium. Now, it's been a while, but my medium that I like is Archival Oils brand, odorless lean. That's what I've been using. Although I think I've been using just the regular one. I don't honestly see much of a difference. I try to only use it when I need a little extra movement. Looks like we're starting in the color here, and just sit back, enjoy watching this painting come together. I'm quite proud of it, and I think you will dig it. Anyway, this underpainting, in this case, it sat there for a long time, and the reason was multifold. One, that this scene had some sort of ambitious issues, like a lot of complexity in the tree and a lot of vagueness in the reference. So I think I did a pretty good job in the underpainting of starting to solidify and simplify those elements. But it took me a while to sort of come to a place where I felt I could finish the painting. And what's great is the underpainting was one stage, and then the rest of the painting was the next stage. But it's not just the rest of the painting, because I will, in this case, I came in and pre-mixed all my colors. You see that little strand there? And those pre-mixing sessions are always in the members area. You might see a few of these 50 minutes where I did that. The problem with that in the 50-minute is that it's a real drag, and I feel the video needs to start off with some painting happening. Also, there's a bit of information there. It could go on a while. So, but if you really want to glean some insight into that stuff, join the members area. It's $6 a month, and you tip in, you tip out, whatever. But so we have that mixing session. Now that could be 15, 20 minutes, where I'm sort of looking at the reference and kind of averaging things out to come up with like 10 to 14 colors, maybe less depending on the scene. that is also supporting myself as an artist because I'm able to sit down and actually engage with my pigments and my imagination and the reference without actually putting my brush on the surface of the painting. So it's a way of getting kind of in the groove before you start plunking paint down. And from there, once you're ready to start working with the paint, I always go after the sky first. Well, the sky is behind everything else. That's one good reason. Another thing is that it is its own thing. Even in some of these forest paintings you see me do, you'll see me do that white bit that might be the light of the sky peeking through first. That just is something I don't have to worry about. I know I'm going to do the sky first. And then I'm working over my underpainting here. Now in this case I want to point out this underpainting because it was really bone dry. It had a lot of like matte or dull qualities to it, so I oiled it out. And because I knew it was like 2 months since I'd done the underpainting, I wasn't worried about oiling it out. I would definitely hesitate though if it had been just a few weeks. But that's one of the reasons it looks pretty crisp and fairly dark. But the next phase, of course, is to go into the landforms, and there it's very simple. I work dark to light, so I'll put in the darkest darks, the medium darks, the medium tones, the medium lights, and then the lightest tones, and that's how I think of it. I break it down like that. I don't even really have to think of it like that because I always just do that. Now you might go, well, geez, that's and then basically where I'm at. Oh, what's this? The book? Hey, shipped a few books this week. Thank you so much for your support, those of you that have purchased it. And I think I get a lot of great feedback on it. People like it. And books are still awesome. Videos are great. Books are great too, because a book you can really, open it up on the bench and dig in a way that with videos, things are, of course, flowing by in a linear fashion, but books are non-linear, and that's pretty cool. $60 US. I'll ship it to you, international shipping included, anywhere you are on the planet. So check it out. Yeah, so we pretty much got through the whole process. Now, sometimes in the old days, I might leave that painting aside. In the old days, say, 2011 to 2014, 15, 16 even maybe, I would very often take that painting session that I had done and put it back on the easel and do yet another pass. Generally, I'd lick on it first just so I could see all the real colors clearly. That dull thing, you got to address it. I very rarely do that these days. The only time I'll do that is if I'm seeing something that is so egregious that I have to fix it. And the reason for that is because it's a whole nother issue, and we've talked about this before, but basically I would rather have my fresh statement, my fresh color statement, mistakes and all, than to set about trying to perfect the image. It just doesn't tend to work. Now, for some artists, it might, it all depends on what you're going after. But what I want is a fresh emotional statement. And the problem with loading it up on the easel again is, of course, whenever that happens, it's going to need to dry. So, it could be weeks later. I'm not going to be the same person. I'm a different person. And yeah, I'm very similar. Let's face it. I don't really come off much different than I did even 10 years ago. But I am fundamentally different in so many ways. And for that reason, I may be quite disrespectful of the attempts and efforts that the Mike of the past made. And I'm going to probably fix some things, but I'm probably going to throw out a lot of good things too. And either way, where I had strokes that were created in the process of trying to represent my response to the reference image or reality, instead, those strokes, which are by nature expressive because you're just putting color right down, when you go over those strokes again in another pass, things become very more patchy, blocky. You get what I call the rice grain effect, or like the oatmeal effect, where everything becomes very kind of uniform because all the strokes get smaller Everything is cut tighter, and sometimes that can look good. I've got older paintings that look great, you know, but I've got a lot that I should have stopped on. And one great thing about the video era is that so many times I'd be reviewing the video and going, man, I should have stopped right there. That looked fine, you know. Anyway, another issue, but, you know, an important and valid issue. And so break things into digestible steps. Underpainting, color mixing session, do the sky, do the land. In the land, you work from darkest to lightest. Basically, you do in the sky too. The exception might be if there's blue sky, that's behind everything else. And then I tend to work darkest to lightest in the sky as well. Now, with oil, you can actually work dark over light, although if you got a lot of wet paint, that doesn't work very well, you know. It's almost always better to work dark to light. With different media is different ways, you know, but that's actually logically it makes sense too if you think about it, because shadows are behind and underneath everything else, so it makes sense to place your other colors on top. Now, the other thing I maybe want to chat about, I'm full of helpful advice and tips for you today. I must be fairly lucid, eh? Recently run into this thing where someone's like, I can't paint this, I can't paint that, you know. And that is what I would call a attitude problem. You have the wrong attitude. You don't want to think about things like, I can't paint this, I can't paint that. What you want to do, oh yeah, here I was talking about the actually in the members area. You can see this video. It's 3 hours long. That's moving along pretty good for this kind of scene. And one of the things I'm talking about there is the complexity, which of course you can see the reference image up on my monitor in the members area at the beginning of the video. And I'll be talking then too about the challenges that I see in making a painting from that image. This one had lots of little bits floating around, a lot of little complexities, and then the little complexities were mixed with the little subtleties, and I solved a lot of the problems in the underpainting stage. I did manage to support myself, but there was still lots of work to do, and lots of simplification. And the way I managed it was by not getting too hung up on like, oh, this is some leaves over a tree or this or that. I just started getting the colors in over my framework of the underpainting. And I recommend you take a similar approach. Just put in those colors and don't think so much about things like drawing necessarily. The drawing was already done in the underpainting stage. So this is more about bringing the color into the drawing and fully realizing the painting. What really worked well for me in this instance, because you'll find if you get enough shapes sort of in the right spot, it becomes pretty easy to bring it to a conclusion, especially if you really gotta. In fact, I recommend you, if you're having problems with your paintings being too detailed or stiff or things like that, or just all the myriad problems. Actually, this will solve every problem. Just you have to simplify. You have to make things way more simple, to the degree where you're fairly content with larger shapes that have nice modulations of color. And from there you look for variety. You look for rich color and good values also in the appropriate places. Now, of course, there's always composition, which is something I talk about a lot, because composition is a giant aspect of painting. And we have just like 1 minute left. I may as well address it again. Some of you might be new. Composition, the best way to learn composition is by making lots of paintings. And by making lots of paintings, as you move on down the line, let's say you do a painting a day, you got 365 paintings you did that year, you're going to see how you're improving your composition from painting number 365 as opposed to painting number 1 from that year. You're going to be able to adjust, and it's a lifetime process. But I can say that the number one thing that's probably messing up your paintings is the compositional issues, you know. And of course, there's infinite ways to go wrong in other ways. But that said, hey, the struggle's real, and I love it. There's nothing else I really want to do. Until I come back with another video for your edification, hopefully for your edification and enjoyment, please do me a favor, do me a solid, take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble, and God bless you and your family. Fight the power.